There is a new fascination with a naturalistic approach to landscape design, which can be traced back to the new perennial movement with Piet Oudolf as one of its leading figures. Piet Oudolf, he's a Dutch garden designer who uses bold drifts of herbaceous perennials and grasses, chosen as much for their structure as for their flower color. And Nicholas, tell us about some of his gardens.
So Susie, thank you. There's some terrific gardens on the East Coast. The High Line that many of you might be familiar with, the Lowry Garden in Chicago, and the Battery. You can go online and look at Pete's books, and you can become your own naturalistic expert. So Susie, what are we going to look at next?
Well, let's head on over there.
Sounds good to me.
And here we have Bouteloua gracilis Blonde Ambition. This is an excellent summer blooming grass. You can see it has a few flowers already. This is different than the regular species in that the flowers are much larger. It's a much more vigorous grower. This does excellent in the warm desert regions. It just doesn't like humidity very well, so I don't recommend it for the Gulf states, but really interesting plant. The other thing about the flowers that I've noticed personally is they sometimes look like little banners that cheer you as you walk by. Very, very sweet. And here we have Stachys. This is lamb's ear. And what I love most about this is if you could touch it, this is very, very soft. But as a ground cover, it's super tough. It clumps up to 1 foot tall, but it'll clump out to 5 feet, and it has that gorgeous silver color. It's a drought tolerant plant, even though it looks really lush. This is lamb's ear, and it's also used in children's sensory gardens because of the nice soft leaf. And next we have Verbena lilacina de la Mina. This was discovered in the Canyon de la Mina on an island off the coast of Baja California. This was discovered by one of our favorite horticulturists and native plant specialist, Carol Bornstein. This one grows a little bit smaller than the species at 1 to 2 feet, and the flowers are a little bit darker in color. I love that dissected foliage. This is a plant that really grows well in filtered light. Verbena lilacina de la Mina. And a very tough and adaptable plant. This will grow well in a wide range of soils. That's what I love about Achillea millefolium. It has these large flat flower clusters that sit just above its fern-like foliage that grows like a spreading mat. This is so tough that I have heard that people have used this as a lawn replacement because you can actually mow it down. That's a testament to its toughness. Achillea millefolium. Behind me, we have a very structural plant. This is an agave called Blue Flame. These grow about 2 to 3 feet tall, and when they're grown in mass, they all have a tendency to kind of flow together, and they look like a gas flame. And that's how it got its name, Blue Flame. Really interesting. Right behind it is Pennisetum red bunny tails. These flowers actually look like red bunny tails, and they're quite adorable. They sit about 3 feet above the 2 foot tall foliage, and the foliage is wide green leaves. They're somewhat arching. This is a cool season grass, and this starts blooming in the spring. And finally, I just want to mention carex in general. Carex are very adaptable. They can handle long periods of drought as well as periodic flooding. Over here we have Carex buchanani. As Nicholas likes to say, this one looks good dead or alive. It's also known as the leather leaf sedge. And behind that is Calamagrostis Karl Forster. This is an upright, clumping grass, makes a beautiful vertical accent, and as you can see, it has these really long plumes in the summer. It's a beautiful vertical accent. And there you have a few grass and perennial selections. Now let's hear from Nicholas.
So part of your naturalistic garden might also include a little bit of shade. So I'm going to mention 2 terrific Japanese maples. The first one is Sangu Kaku, has this wonderful chartreuse emerald green foliage, gets through about 15, 17 feet high, maybe 8 feet wide. The real attribute of the plant is in the autumn and winter time when the stems in the colder regions go this real nice coral color. And then the other is a dissectum variety, and this is called Asa Tamayuki Ama. and it really is one of my favorites. The plant can get up to 10 to 12 feet high and probably about 15 feet across. It's really very broad. In the warmer regions where it can perform extremely well, it's going to be much smaller. It's got this outstanding kind of burgundy reddish foliage, has a great cascading habit. The name Tamayuki-ema actually immortalizes a mountain in Japan, but two fabulous choices for a bit of a shade area. Now, some other shade plants I'm going to talk about are some heucheras and one particular hosta. And I'm going to go on my knees to do this. For those of you that love to garden, you can order these online. These are gardening stools. You can kneel on them or you can sit on them. They're absolutely great. So I was chatting with a colleague pal of mine the other day about heucheras, and they're still very popular, but I think their day has to come. As a group of plants, they love a dappled shade or full shade position, lots of different varieties. And what's really cool, all the colors. Some of the newer varieties, they're really focusing on the leaves versus the blooms. One really important design tip is if you're using the red or the darker varieties, then don't plant them en masse. What'll happen is it'll look like there's just a black hole in the landscape. So that's where you can use them sparingly and integrate them with some of the other colors. So the first plant is called berry marmalade. The foliage is exquisite, right? And underneath it's a real kind of shiny, deep amethyst color. And you can see by the spent flowers, has a pretty nice flower set as well. This variety here is called marmalade. So using marmalade and the berry marmalade together, you can see how the leaves play off each other. And these are two plants from the bold series. This is lime bold. You can see how they complement each other. And this is amber bold. These are part of the northern exposure group. Just absolutely fabulous. When the new growth comes out, it's a real kind of marmalade orange color. Another choice I would certainly use in that shaded area with the heucheras is the Japanese forest grass. Just exquisite. There's the species and then there's 2 or 3 other varieties. The plant will probably get to be about like 18, 20 inches across and some 12 to 15 inches high. Just makes an exquisite showing. And then I had to mention just one hosta, and this is called Crossa, K-R-O-S-S-A, Crossa regal. This is otherwise known as a giant hosta. The plant will get about 3 feet high and can actually get to 6 feet across. The leaves, once mature, will be about 12 inches long, 8 inches wide. It's a really heavy leaf. It's heavily veined, which makes it more resistant to slugs and snails and those sorts of things. In the summertime, has this exquisite flower, beautiful lavender flower stem that will get sort of 3 feet above the plant. So you've really got something special here. So for those of you that are going to find yourself in Toledo in this year or the next few years, the Toledo Botanical Garden has the most incredible collection of hostas you've ever seen. It's worth going out of your way to go and visit the garden and see this collection of hostas. So there's a few of my choices for the shade area of your naturalistic garden.